Family, stop whatever you're doing and pay close attention, because what I'm about to share with you could shake the very foundation of the church. A leaked audio recording, allegedly featuring Prophet Brian Carn himself, has surfaced online, and the words on this tape are so explosive, so jaw-dropping, that many are now questioning whether he should ever stand behind a pulpit again. Not now, not ever. What was said, and why is the internet demanding that he step down immediately? Stick with me, because the truth inside this confession is far more shocking than you might imagine. Family, let me tell you, when a leaked audio hits the internet, especially one tied to a figure as controversial as Prophet Brian Carn, you already know it's about to send shockwaves through the gospel community. For years, Carn has been praised by his devoted followers as a prophetic voice, while critics have accused him of manipulation, deception, and even scandalous behavior. But now, with this alleged audio confession surfacing, the discussion has shifted from mere speculation to what some are calling undeniable evidence. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what was said in the leaked recording, the immediate reactions from church leaders and members, and the potential consequences that could follow. You're going to hear not only the words that have people demanding answers, but also the context, the background, and the impact this could have on Brian Carn's ministry going forward. And believe me, just when you think you've heard the worst of it, there's a part of this story that will leave you completely speechless. You won't believe who is tied into this audio or what insiders are already whispering behind closed doors. So make sure you watch all the way to the end, because the most shocking revelations come in the later parts of this video. The story begins with a simple upload an anonymous drop on social media that spread like wildfire across Facebook groups, gospel blogs, and even Twitter. Within hours, the leaked audio allegedly featuring Prophet Brian Carn was being dissected by thousands of people replaying it, slowing it down and trying to determine whether it was authentic. What makes this audio so alarming isn't just the voice, which many claim belongs to Carn, it's the words being spoken. You can allegedly hear a voice confessing to struggles, failures, and choices that many would say completely disqualify a man from standing behind the pulpit. These aren't just mistakes, they sound like deliberate patterns of behavior that clash with the image Carn has cultivated over the years. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's put this into context. Prophet Brian Carn has never been a stranger to controversy. For years, he's faced accusations of plagiarism in his prophecies, misconduct within ministry, and questionable behavior offstage. Each time, he has managed to silence critics, regroup, and continue drawing massive crowds. But this audio feels different. Why? Because it doesn't come from an outsider, a rumor, or a critic. It allegedly comes straight from his own mouth. Imagine being one of his loyal followers, someone who has given offerings to his ministry, trusted his prophetic words, and defended him against critics, only to hear a recording like this. That feeling of betrayal is exactly what has fueled the anger and outrage online. People aren't just shocked, they feel deceived, misled, and, in some cases, heartbroken. And here's where it gets even more intense. Multiple insiders are now claiming that this leaked audio may have been deliberately released by someone close to him, which raises a lot of questions. Who recorded it? Why was it leaked? And what do they stand to gain by exposing it now? But before we dive into who might be behind this leak, let's take a closer look at what the words in this recording actually mean, and why so many believe this can mark the end of Brian Carn's ministry as we know it. When the audio first surfaced, most people played it once or twice out of curiosity, but the real firestorm began when bloggers, podcasters, and even other church leaders started breaking it down piece by piece. And that's exactly what we're going to do here, because the power of this recording isn't just in the overall message, it's in the details. One of the first statements allegedly heard in the audio is a shocking admission of personal struggle. The voice, which many insist belongs to Brian Carn, can be heard acknowledging failures in areas that preachers usually hide behind polished sermons and stage performances. The words are raw, unfiltered, and striking. They sound less like a public confession and more like a private admission that was never intended to be heard. Now here's where it gets even more intriguing. The alleged confession doesn't point to just a momentary weakness, it suggests repeated behavior, patterns that stand in stark contrast to the holiness and integrity expected from a man of the cloth. Put simply, it sounds like someone living a double life, publicly portraying the role of prophet, while privately grappling with choices that undermine that very calling. Listeners have described the audio as a mixture of sadness and outrage. Some feel pity, hearing a man who might be crying out under the weight of his own struggles. Others feel anger, believing this is proof of deception that people have been misled for years while he wrestled with things behind the scenes that should have disqualified him from leadership. And here's a crucial point. Throughout the recording, there are repeated references to covering things up, keeping the truth hidden, and preserving an image. Those phrases, whether said in jest, sarcasm, or sincerity, have sparked debates about transparency and accountability in the church. After all, when a leader spends so much energy protecting an image, what happens to the actual ministry? But perhaps the most jaw-dropping moment comes when the alleged voice addresses the pulpit itself. At one point, the recording captures what sounds like a clear admission. Maybe I shouldn't even be up there. Let that sink in. This isn't a critic, journalist, or blogger saying it, it's allegedly Brian Carn himself. Imagine the weight of that. A man standing before thousands, preaching week after week, yet privately admitting he might have no business being there. This is where many say the confession crosses from personal weakness into public disqualification. Because if the person in the recording is admitting their own unworthiness to lead, how can the congregation ignore it? Now, let's pause here because this is the cliffhanger moment. What if I told you the audio may not just be about Carn's personal struggles, but could also hint at deeper conflicts involving other leaders in the church world? Because buried within these recordings are references to conversations with others' names that, if verified, could shake not just his ministry, but several major churches connected to him. And that's where things take a whole new turn. The imshi beep moment this leaked audio hit the internet, the ripple effect was immediate and impossible to ignore. Within hours, social media was flooded with comments, memes, heated debates, and emotional testimonies from people claiming to have been directly impacted by Prophet Brian Carn's ministry. Some defended him passionately, while others demanded his immediate resignation on Facebook Live. Pastors and bloggers even went live at midnight just to give their 2 cents, drawing in thousands of viewers eager to join the discussion on Twitter. The leaked confession quickly began trending in gospel and church circles, with hashtags like #StepDown, #Carn, and #ChurchAccountability shared relentlessly. Reaction videos on YouTube began popping up like wildfire, some racking up tens of thousands of views overnight. Fueled by curiosity and outrage, the reactions can largely be divided into 3 main camps. First, the loyal defenders, the diehard supporters of Brian Carn who believe that every man of God faces trials, and that what was allegedly captured in this recording is simply proof that he's human. To them, this is a test, a storm, or even an attack from the enemy meant to discredit a powerful prophet. You'll see them quoting scriptures about forgiveness, grace, and not touching God's anointed. On the other side are the outraged critics, former members, longtime opponents, and church watchers who see this as the final nail in the coffin. For years, they've warned that Carn's ministry had cracks, that scandals seemed to follow him, and that his credibility was questionable. To them, this audio confirms everything they've been saying all along. Their message is clear. If this confession is real, Carn has no business preaching another sermon. Then there's the heartbroken middle, perhaps the most important group. These are ordinary churchgoers, people who truly believed in his ministry, sowed into his vision, and trusted his words. For them, this isn't about defending or attacking, it's about processing betrayal. Imagine sitting in church every Sunday, hanging on to every word your pastor says, only to hear him on tape admitting things that make you question his entire calling. This group isn't just angry, they're grieving. But the fallout doesn't stop with the congregation. Other leaders in the gospel community are weighing in as well. Some pastors are calling for immediate accountability, demanding that Carn either step down temporarily or face a formal church investigation. Others are staying silent, likely to avoid getting caught in the crossfire or because their own ministries may be connected to his. And here's where things get messy. Insiders are claiming that the audio wasn't leaked by accident. Instead, it may have come from someone in his inner circle, someone with access to private conversations, who decided to expose him. Will there finally be accountability and reform? Will the cycle of cover-ups, silence, and scandals continue? Family, let's take a moment to step back. Because while this entire controversy may have started with Brian Carn's alleged leaked audio, It has now grown into something far bigger than just one man. The conversations happening online, in church foyers, and even around dinner tables aren't just about Carn. They're about the culture of leadership in the modern church itself. For years, many have argued that some pastors and prophets have become untouchable. They've been placed on pedestals, treated more like celebrities than shepherds, and shielded from accountability because of their influence, charisma, or the size of their congregations. In many cases, congregations are discouraged from asking hard questions, and anyone who does is labeled divisive or rebellious. But this leak has reignited the debate. Should leaders be held to a higher standard? And if so, who is responsible for enforcing it? Think about it in almost every other profession where lives are impacted: doctors, teachers, judges. There are strict systems of accountability. But in the church world, accountability is too often voluntary, based on personal relationships, or completely absent. When scandals arise, leaders frequently hide behind grace, asking people not to judge, rather than stepping aside to confront their failures. That cycle of cover-ups leaves the people, the very ones who tithe, serve, and sacrifice, feeling betrayed and abandoned. The Carn controversy forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. It makes us ask whether the modern church has prioritized personalities over principles. Has the desire for influence, big conferences, and packed stadiums outweighed the call for holiness and integrity? And perhaps most importantly, what message does it send to the world outside the church when leaders are repeatedly caught in scandals but rarely face lasting consequences? For many people listening to the audio, this moment is more than just gossip or drama. It's a wake-up call, a reminder that faith should never be placed in a man. No matter how gifted or anointed he seems, faith should be placed in God, because men can fail. Leaders can fall, and when they do, the question becomes, will we deal with it openly and honestly, or will we cover it up until the next scandal erupts? And here's something to consider. While this situation has divided people, it has also united others who are demanding change. More voices are rising up, saying enough is enough. We want transparency. We want leaders who walk in integrity. We want a church culture that values truth over image. And that, perhaps, is the silver lining in all of this. That out of scandal, reform could actually be born. But let's circle back to the man at the center of it all. Prophet Brian Carn. Whether you love him or loathe him, whether you see him as a flawed human or a false prophet, one thing is clear: this leaked audio has forever altered his reputation. There's no putting this genie back in the bottle. His ministry, his influence, and even his legacy will now be judged through the lens of words that were never meant for public ears. So the final question is this: will Brian Carn step down and face the music, or will he continue forward as if nothing happened? And beyond that, will the church community finally demand higher standards? Or will history repeat itself yet again with another scandal, another cover-up, and another wave of disillusioned believers walking away from the faith?